The massive alien ship floated in space like a metal moon. Inside its cold halls, strange beings from 12 different worlds sat around a glowing table. They called themselves the Galactic Defense Council, but today they were planning an attack. Council Prime Vexthari looked at the holographic display with satisfaction. His 4 eyes gleamed as he studied the human positions across the galaxy. The humans had spread themselves too thin, just as predicted. Their ships were scattered across 17 different star systems, trying to protect too many worlds at once. "Show me their fleet strength again," Vexthari commanded. The display changed to show red dots representing human ships. Only 8,000 vessels total. The aliens had 50,000 ships waiting to attack. The numbers were clear. Humanity didn't stand a chance. "Their supply lines are stretched beyond breaking point," reported General Krixtha, a tall creature with gray skin and no nose. "Their newest colonies are months away from any help. Our war computers predict they will surrender within 6 hours of our ultimatum." Far across the galaxy, Admiral Kang Dae-ho stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Soul's Pride. He was a weathered man in his 50s, with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many battles. The communication screen flickered to life, showing the ugly face of Vexthari. "Humans of Earth," the alien leader spoke in broken English. "You have 6 hours to surrender all your worlds and ships. Refuse and we will destroy every human in the galaxy. Your scattered fleet cannot protect you. Submit now or face total extinction." The message ended. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of engines and computer systems. Kang looked at his crew, young men and women who had families back on Earth. They were scared, but their faces showed determination, not defeat. "Send word to Earth Command," Kang ordered his communications officer. "Tell President Park we need an emergency war council meeting. Now." On Earth, in a bunker deep beneath Seoul, President Park Ji-woo gathered her closest advisors. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a reputation for making tough decisions. Around the table sat the most important people in human space. General Lee Byung-soo spread out the tactical displays. He was built like an old soldier, broad shoulders, scarred hands, and a voice that could command respect from anyone. "The situation is bad," he said bluntly. "We have 8,000 ships, they have 50,000. Our forces are spread across 17 systems. If we try to gather them together, the aliens will pick us apart one by one." Minister of Defense Oh Sang-wook shifted nervously in his chair. He was younger than the others, a politician who preferred talking to fighting. "Perhaps we should consider negotiation. Maybe we can find some middle ground." "There is no middle ground," interrupted General Lee. "These aliens want complete surrender. They want us to become their slaves." President Park rubbed her temples. The weight of 8 billion human lives pressed down on her shoulders. Every decision she made could mean the difference between survival and extinction. In the corner of the room sat Dr. Kim Hyejin, head of the Quantum Research Division. She was a quiet woman in her 40s with thick glasses and hands that always seemed to be calculating something. Most people in the room forgot she was there, but she had been listening to every word. Next to her sat Director Choi Min-ho of Special Projects. He was a thin man who never smiled and rarely spoke. His department was so secret that even President Park didn't know everything they worked on. Meanwhile, back on the alien command ship, Vexthari studied the human response patterns. His war computers had analyzed every human conflict in recorded history. Humans always fought hard when they had advantages, but they broke quickly when overwhelmed by superior numbers. "The humans are predictable," he told his council. "They will attempt a desperate final assault, just like the Zephyrians did 300 years ago. We will crush them easily." The other alien leaders nodded in agreement. They had conquered dozens of species using the same tactics: overwhelming force, impossible odds, and a short deadline. It worked every time, but none of them had ever fought humans before. Back on Earth, the War Council continued their grim discussions. General Lee showed them simulation after simulation, each one ending in human defeat. No matter how they positioned their forces, the math was simple. They were outnumbered 6-1. "We could evacuate the outer colonies," suggested Oh Sang-wook. Pull everyone back to the core worlds and make a stand there. And abandon 12 billion people? President Park shook her head. That's not an option. Dr. Kim finally spoke up. Her voice was soft but clear. There might be another way. Everyone turned to look at her. She rarely spoke at these meetings unless she had something important to say. 7 years ago, my department began working on something we called Project Thunderclap, she continued. It uses quantum entanglement to create perfect coordination between ships across any distance. Every vessel in the fleet could move as one organism. Director Choi nodded slowly. The technology exists, but it's never been tested on a large scale. The risks are enormous. What kind of risks? President Park asked. The quantum field could burn out every electronic system in human space, Dr. Kim explained. Or worse, the entanglement cascade could tear holes in space-time itself. We could accidentally destroy the galaxy. The room fell silent. Outside, air raid sirens began to wail as the alien probe attack started. 3 agricultural colonies had already gone silent. General Lee looked at the tactical display as more red warning lights appeared. Whatever we're going to do, we need to decide fast. The aliens aren't waiting for their deadline. President Park stood up and walked to the window. Through the thick glass, she could see Seoul's skyline stretching to the horizon. 8 billion people were counting on her to make the right choice. She turned back to the table. Dr. Kim, how long would it take to activate this thunderclap system? If we start now? 4 hours. But I have to warn you. Once we begin, there's no stopping it. The quantum field will either work perfectly or destroy us all. President Park looked at each person around the table. General Lee nodded grimly. Director Choi showed no emotion at all. Even Oh Sang-wook seemed to understand that negotiation was no longer possible. Then we're out of time for safe choices, President Park said. Activate Project Thunderclap. If we're going to die, let's die as humans fighting back. The Alien Council had predicted human collapse within hours. They were about to discover how wrong they were. 4 hours remained until the alien deadline. Across human space, families huddled around news screens in their homes. Children asked questions their parents couldn't answer. In the outer colonies, evacuation ships loaded with desperate civilians tried to reach safety that might not exist. Captain Yoon Ji-hai stood on the bridge of her destroyer, the Busan Runner, in the Proxima system. She was 35 years old with short black hair and steady hands that never shook, even when death was coming. Around her, the crew prepared their weapons with quiet determination. Captain, called Lieutenant Nam Tae-sung from the communication station. He was barely 22, fresh from the academy with a wife and baby daughter back on Earth. I'm getting similar reports from every ship in the fleet. No one is talking about surrender. Yoon nodded. That sounded like humanity. When faced with impossible odds, humans didn't give up. They got angry. In the Seoul bunker, the emergency war cabinet gathered around the main table again. The news was getting worse by the hour. 3 more colonies had gone silent under alien probe attacks. The aliens were testing human defenses and finding them weak. General Lee Byung-soo pointed at the tactical display with frustration. They're picking us apart piece by piece. Every probe attack teaches them more about our capabilities. At this rate, they'll know exactly how to destroy us before the main battle even begins. Minister of Defense. Oh Sang-wook looked pale and sick. He kept checking his watch as if time would somehow slow down. Maybe we should send another message. Offer them something valuable in exchange for more time to consider their terms. They don't want negotiations, President Park said firmly. They want complete surrender. And even if we gave them that, do you think they'd let us live as free people? Dr. Kim Hee-jin sat quietly in her corner, her fingers dancing over a secure tablet. Numbers and equations flowed across the screen in patterns that would confuse most people. She was calculating power requirements, quantum field stability, and probability matrices. Director Choi Min-ho watched her work with dark eyes. He knew better than anyone what Project Thunderclap could do, and what it might cost. Dr. Kim, President Park said suddenly, tell us more about this Thunderclap system. How exactly does it work? Dr. Kim looked up from her calculations. Imagine 8,000 ships as individual fingers on a hand. Right now, each finger moves independently. Thunderclap turns them into a single hand with one brain controlling every movement. And the risks? General Lee asked. The quantum entanglement field requires enormous amounts of energy, Dr. Kim explained. We'd need to tap into fusion reactors on 17 different worlds simultaneously. If the field collapses, the energy feedback could destroy every power system in human space. We'd be left floating in dead ships. What's the worst-case scenario? President Park pressed. Dr. Kim hesitated. The quantum cascade could tear holes in space-time, not just destroying our fleet but potentially damaging the fabric of reality itself. The effects could spread beyond our galaxy. The room fell silent except for the distant sound of air raid sirens. More colonies were under attack. Director Choi finally spoke. There's something else you should know. We've been testing small-scale versions of this technology for 3 years. The results have been interesting. He activated a holographic display showing a dozen human ships in perfect formation. They moved together like a flock of birds, anticipating each other's actions with impossible precision. The pilots reported a shared consciousness experience, Choi continued. They could feel what the other pilots were thinking, planning, experiencing. For 17 minutes, 12 separate people became one perfect tactical unit. What happened after 17 minutes? President Park asked. The field collapsed on its own. The pilots were exhausted but unharmed. However, that was only 12 ships. We're talking about linking 8,000 vessels and their entire crews. General Lee studied the tactical displays again. Enemy probes were hitting human positions across 4 different systems now. The aliens were mapping their defenses with surgical precision. How long before they have enough information to launch their main attack? He asked. Based on their current rate of intelligence gathering, 6 hours, maybe 7, came the reply from his intelligence officer. Then we don't have the luxury of waiting, President Park decided. If we're going to use Thunderclap, we need to start now. Dr. Kim nodded and began typing rapidly on her tablet. I'll need authorization codes from all 17 colony worlds to access their fusion reactors. And we'll need every ship captain to install the quantum receivers. What will the crews experience? President Park asked. Unknown, Dr. Kim admitted. In small-scale tests, the pilots described it as becoming part of something larger while still maintaining their individual identity. But with 8,000 ships, it could be overwhelming. On the bridge of the Busan runner, Captain Yoon received an encrypted message from Earth Command. The orders were strange. Maintain current position and await special equipment installation. No attack vectors, no defensive positions, just wait. Captain, Lieutenant Nam looked confused. These orders don't make tactical sense. Why aren't we moving to intercept the enemy probes? Yoon studied the message again. Between the lines, she could read something important happening. Prepare the crew for equipment installation. And Nam, tell everyone to get some rest. I have a feeling we're going to need all our strength soon. Back on Earth, Dr. Kim initiated the first phase of Project Thunderclap. Deep beneath the Korean peninsula, massive quantum computers began calculating entanglement patterns for 8,000 different ships. The power requirements were staggering. Her assistant, Dr. Yu Jae-min, monitored the energy readings with growing concern. He was a nervous young man who worried about everything, but his concerns were usually correct. The power drain is already affecting civilian sectors on 3 worlds, he reported. If we continue at this rate, we'll cause rolling blackouts across human space. The civilians won't need electricity if the aliens kill us all, Dr. Kim replied grimly. Across the galaxy, alien probe attacks continued. The human defenders fought bravely but were clearly outmatched. Each battle taught the aliens more about human tactics, weapons, and weaknesses. On the alien command ship, Vex Thari watched the probe results with satisfaction. The humans were exactly as predictable as his war computers claimed. They fought desperately but showed no sign of new tactics or secret weapons. Their response patterns match our simulations perfectly, General Krixtha reported. When we launch the main assault, they will attempt a coordinated counterattack using conventional tactics. We will crush them within the first hour. And after that, Vex Thari asked, total conquest. The human species will join the other servant races in our empire. Their worlds will provide resources. Their people will provide labor. The alien leaders shared satisfied expressions. Another successful conquest was almost complete. They had no idea that beneath Earth's surface, Dr. Kim was preparing something that would change their understanding of warfare forever. The quantum field generators reached full power. 8,000 ships received their new equipment. In 4 hours, the alien deadline would expire. In 3 hours and 57 minutes, the aliens would discover that humans were not like other species they had conquered. Humans didn't break under pressure. They became pressure. 1 hour remained until the alien deadline. Across human space, a strange silence fell over the fleet. 8,000 ships received the same encrypted quantum signal simultaneously. The message was simple and mysterious. Thunder protocols active. Await lightning. Captain Yoon Ji-hee read the message 3 times on the bridge of the Busan Runner. Her tactical officer, Ensign Bae So-young, looked confused. Bae was a brilliant young woman, fresh from the military academy, but these orders made no sense to her. "Captain, our orders are to maintain current position and await further instruction," Bae reported. "No attack vectors, no retreat routes. We're just supposed to. Wait here?" Yoon studied the message again. Something big was happening, something beyond normal military tactics. "Prepare all systems for immediate response, and Bae, make sure every crew member is at their station." Deep beneath Earth's surface, Dr. Kim Hye-jin stood in the center of the most advanced laboratory humanity had ever built. Massive quantum computers surrounded her, their screens showing equations that stretched across entire walls. The air hummed with energy as fusion reactors from 17 different worlds fed power into the quantum field generators. Her assistant, Dr. Yu Jae-min, watched the energy readings with wide eyes. "The power levels are beyond anything we've ever attempted. Are you sure the equipment can handle this much strain?" Dr. Kim's fingers moved across her control panel like a pianist playing a complex symphony. "We're about to find out. If this works, every human ship will share the same tactical awareness. If it fails..." She didn't finish the sentence. The alien fleet moved into final attack positions. 50,000 vessels arranged themselves in perfect battle formations around human space. Their commanders felt confident. The war computers had analyzed every possible human response and found them all inadequate. Council Prime Vexthari stood on his command bridge watching the final preparations. His 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction as probe reports confirmed human positions. The humans were exactly where his computers predicted they would be. "Begin final countdown," he ordered. "In 1 hour, we will demonstrate why the Galactic Defense Council has never lost a war." But something was happening that the aliens couldn't detect. Invisible quantum signals flowed between human ships like ghostly threads. Information passed instantly across impossible distances: ship positions, crew status, weapon readiness, tactical assessments. Admiral Kang Dae-ho felt the change before he understood it. Standing on the bridge of Seoul's Pride, he suddenly knew things he shouldn't know. He could sense the position of every human ship in the fleet. He knew their ammunition levels, their crew readiness, even their captain's emotional states. "Sir?" His communications officer looked concerned. "Are you feeling all right?" Kang blinked and realized he had been staring into space for several minutes. "Yes, I'm fine, just thinking about tactics." But it wasn't thinking. It was knowing. Information flowed into his mind from sources he couldn't identify. He knew that Captain Yoon's destroyer was positioned perfectly to intercept enemy advance scouts. He knew that Fleet Admiral Song's dreadnought had full ammunition and a crew ready for battle. He knew things happening thousands of light years away as clearly as if they were occurring on his own bridge. The quantum network was coming online. On distant worlds, fusion reactors pushed past their safety limits to feed energy into Dr. Kim's equipment. Cities went dark as power grids diverted everything to the military effort. Civilians didn't complain. They understood that their survival depended on whatever was happening in those secret laboratories. Fleet Admiral Song Yoon-ji commanded humanity's newest dreadnought, the Incheon's Hammer. She was a tall woman with gray-streaked hair and eyes that had seen more battles than most people could imagine. Her ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. As the quantum network strengthened, Song began receiving impossible information. Detailed tactical data about every alien vessel appeared on her screens: their exact positions, shield frequencies, weapon timing, even the psychological profiles of their commanders. Where is this data coming from? Her intelligence officer asked, staring at the impossible flood of information. I don't know, Song replied. But it's accurate, I can feel it. She was right. Dr. Kim's quantum surveillance network had been watching the aliens for months through microscopic drones, devices so small they looked like cosmic dust. The drones had mapped every alien ship, recorded every communication, analyzed every tactical pattern. Now that information flowed instantly to every human captain, the aliens had studied human warfare throughout history. They knew humans fought desperately when cornered. What they didn't understand was that humans had never before fought with perfect coordination. Captain Yoon felt the network connect to her mind like warm electricity. Suddenly she could sense every other ship captain in the fleet. 8,000 different perspectives flowed together into one vast tactical awareness. She knew things happening on the other side of the galaxy as clearly as events on her own bridge. But she was still herself. Her personality, her memories, her individual skills remained intact. She had simply become part of something larger. Captain, Ensign Bay's voice seemed to come from very far away. Your vital signs just spiked. Should I call the medical officer? No, Yoon replied, her voice strangely calm. I'm fine. Better than fine. The countdown reached its final minutes. Alien weapons powered up across 50,000 ships. Battle formations tightened as commanders prepared for the easiest victory in their military careers. On the alien command ship, Vex Thari gave his final orders. Target their military vessels first. Leave the civilian populations alive and we'll need workers for the new colony worlds. General Krixtha nodded. The humans will attempt a desperate counterattack when they realize the situation is hopeless. Our ships are prepared for this. Neither alien commander understood what was really about to happen. They expected desperate human attacks because that's what their war computers predicted. Humans had always fought with individual courage but poor coordination. They had never fought as one mind controlling 8,000 bodies. Dr. Kim watched her displays as the quantum network reached full stability. Every human ship was now connected to every other ship through quantum entanglement. Information flowed faster than light itself. Tactical awareness became perfect and instant. Network status? She asked Dr. Yu. Stable and holding. All ships report successful connection. Power levels are extreme but within acceptable ranges. Dr. Kim nodded and activated her communication system. Her message reached every human ship simultaneously. Thunder protocols now active. Await lightning strike authorization. The alien deadline expired. Vexithari gave the order to attack. He had 17 minutes left to live, but he didn't know it yet. The war that would reshape galactic civilization was about to begin, and it would be over before most beings realized it had started. The alien armada opened fire with the fury of 50,000 suns. Plasma cannons erupted in brilliant colors across the void of space. Gravity weapons bent reality itself into destructive waves. Exotic matter bombs streaked toward human positions like falling stars of death. Council Prime Vexthari watched from his command bridge with satisfaction. The devastating barrage would crush human resistance within minutes. His war computers had calculated every possible human response, and none of them could survive this overwhelming assault. But something impossible happened. Every human ship moved at exactly the right moment. The Busan runner twisted through space in a perfect spiral, avoiding 3 plasma bolts that should have vaporized it. Captain Yoon's hands moved across her controls with supernatural precision, executing maneuvers that her navigation computer should have needed several minutes to calculate. She wasn't calculating. She was knowing. The quantum network flowed through her mind like liquid lightning. She could sense the alien weapons firing before the energy left their cannons. She knew where every projectile would travel before it moved. 8,000 human captains shared the same impossible awareness. Admiral Kang watched in amazement as his entire fleet danced between the alien attacks. Ships performed maneuvers that violated everything he knew about space combat. They moved together like a school of fish, anticipating every threat with perfect timing. How are we doing this? His tactical officer whispered. Kang felt the answer rather than thinking it. We're not doing it. We are it. The alien commanders noticed the impossible coordination immediately. General Krixtha studied the tactical displays with growing confusion. No communication system could coordinate defensive movements this precisely. The humans were responding to attacks faster than light-speed signals could travel. Switch to randomized attack patterns, Vexthari ordered. Their communication system cannot predict random movements. The alien fleet adapted, firing in chaotic patterns designed to overwhelm any defensive system. It didn't matter. The humans anticipated every move as if they were reading alien thoughts. Because they were. Dr. Kim's surveillance drones had penetrated every alien ship months ago. They recorded not just tactical data, but brain patterns, decision-making processes, even the emotional states of alien commanders. The quantum network processed this information faster than conscious thought. When Vexithari decided to target human supply ships, Captain Yoon knew about it before he gave the order. When General Krixtha planned a flanking maneuver, Fleet Admiral Song was already moving to counter it. The aliens weren't fighting 8,000 separate ships. They were fighting one vast organism with 8,000 bodies and one perfect mind. The counterattack began. Human weapons fired in, patterns so precise they seemed like choreographed. Captain Yoon launched 3 torpedoes at seemingly empty space. The projectiles curved through a debris field, using gravity wells and magnetic fields to guide their path. All 3 struck different alien cruisers simultaneously, hitting exact points where their shields were momentarily weak. She had calculated the trajectory through 11 different gravitational influences, while dodging enemy fire and coordinating with 47 other ships. The math should have taken supercomputers hours to complete. She did it in milliseconds because she didn't have to think about it. She simply knew. Fleet Admiral Song coordinated a trap that should have been impossible to execute. Her dreadnought, Incheon's hammer, fired a gravity mine into what looked like empty space. At the exact same moment, 17 other ships fired similar devices from completely different angles. The alien fleet moved to avoid the obvious trap, steering directly into the real one. Song's gravity wells activated simultaneously, creating a pocket of twisted space-time that captured an entire alien battle group. 17 enemy dreadnoughts found themselves trapped in artificial gravity fields, helpless as human ships closed in for precise strikes. The aliens realized they weren't fighting a fleet. They were fighting a single entity that thought faster than their computers and moved with impossible precision. "Retreat! All ships retreat!" Vexithari screamed into his communication system, but the retreat order came too late. The human fleet had anticipated this response and positioned themselves accordingly. Every escape route was blocked by human ships that had arrived at exactly the right moment. Admiral Kang felt the battle through 8,000 different perspectives simultaneously. He experienced Captain Yoon destroying 3 enemy cruisers with surgical precision. He felt Fleet Admiral Song's satisfaction as her trap closed perfectly. He shared the determination of every human pilot as they executed maneuvers that redefined space combat. The aliens fought desperately, but desperation was useless against perfect coordination. Human ships dissected their formations with mathematical precision. Every shot was placed exactly where it would cause maximum damage with minimum energy waste. The battle wasn't destruction, it was surgery. Human torpedoes found weak points in alien armor that shouldn't have been detectable. Energy weapons struck at precise moments when enemy shields flickered between recharge cycles. Boarding pods launched with timing so perfect, they arrived exactly when alien defensive systems were overwhelmed. Captain Yoon's crew watched in amazement as their ship performed impossible feats. Lieutenant Nam reported successful hits on targets he couldn't even see on his sensors. Ensign Bay tracked projectiles that curved through space following paths that seemed to violate physics. "Captain," Bay whispered, "how are we doing this?" Yoon felt the quantum network flowing through her consciousness like a river of pure information. She could sense every human ship, every alien vessel, every weapon and every tactical possibility across the entire battlefield. "We're not following tactics anymore," she replied. "We are tactics." The alien armada began to crumble, not destroyed by overwhelming force but disassembled by perfect precision. Human weapons targeted specific systems, engines, weapons, life support, leaving alien crews alive but helpless. This wasn't massacre. This was capture. Vexithari watched his mighty fleet being taken apart piece by piece. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were being disabled by human vessels that shouldn't have been able to coordinate their attacks. How? He demanded of his tactical computers. How are they doing this? The computers had no answer. Their analysis showed impossible coordination, faster-than-light communication, and tactical awareness that exceeded anything in their databases. 11 minutes after the battle began, the alien armada ceased to exist as a fighting force. 50,000 ships had been reduced to disabled hulks floating in space, their crews captured alive, their weapons systems neutralized with surgical precision. The humans had fought with the coordination of a hive mind, but retained the creativity that made them individually dangerous. They had become something new, a collective consciousness that amplified individual strengths instead of erasing them. Dr. Kim monitored the quantum network from her underground laboratory. The energy requirements were enormous, but the fusion reactors held steady. More importantly, the human crews showed no signs of mental strain. They had adapted to the shared consciousness faster than her most optimistic projections. Network status? She asked Dr. Yu. Stable and holding. All ships report successful mission completion. No casualties among our forces. Dr. Kim allowed herself a small smile. The impossible had become routine. On his command bridge, Admiral Kang felt the battle awareness beginning to fade as Dr. Kim started the careful process of disconnecting the quantum network. The sensation was strange, like waking up from a dream where he had been everyone and everywhere at once. Admiral, his communications officer reported, "We're receiving surrender requests from the remaining alien commanders." Kang nodded. The battle was over, but the real work was just beginning. They had to figure out what to do with 50,000 captured alien ships and their crews. More importantly, they had to decide what humanity would become, now that they had proven themselves the most dangerous species in the galaxy. 11 minutes after the battle began, silence filled the void where the greatest space battle in galactic history had taken place. 50,000 alien ships floated helplessly in space, their weapons disabled, their crews alive but captured. The mighty armada that had conquered dozens of worlds was now a collection of broken metal and shattered pride. Council Prime Vex Thari found himself in the detention bay of the Soul's Pride, Admiral Kang's flagship. The alien leader's 4 eyes burned with rage and confusion as he demanded answers from his human captors. Admiral Kang stood before the detention cell, still feeling echoes of the quantum network in his mind. The shared consciousness was fading, but the memory of perfect unity remained. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of 8,000 ship captains who had fought as one. "You studied our wars," Kang said quietly, "but you studied them wrong." Vexthari pressed against the energy barrier of his cell. "Impossible. Our war computers analyzed every human conflict in recorded history. You always break under superior force, always. You saw us fight desperately when we were cornered," Kang continued. "And you thought that meant we were weak. You didn't understand what you were really seeing." Admiral Kang activated a holographic display showing human battles throughout history. Ancient warriors fighting impossible odds. Soldiers holding positions against overwhelming force, pilots making suicide runs to protect their comrades. "You thought desperation made us weak," Kang explained. "But desperation is when humans become most dangerous. We don't surrender when we have nothing left to lose. We become something more than what we were before." Deep beneath Earth's surface, Dr. Kim Hyejin carefully began the process of shutting down the quantum network. Disconnecting 8,000 linked minds required delicate precision. Human consciousness wasn't designed for such deep connection, and forcing a sudden separation could cause permanent damage. Her assistant, Dr. Yu Jaemin, monitored the vital signs of crews across the fleet. "All readings are within acceptable ranges. The pilots are tired but unharmed. The network is disconnecting naturally." Dr. Kim nodded, but her expression remained concerned. "Monitor everyone for the next 72 hours. We don't know the long-term effects of quantum consciousness linking." Across the fleet, human crews slowly returned to individual awareness. Captain Yoon Ji-hee felt the connection fade like waking from a vivid dream. The sensation of knowing everything, being everywhere, sharing thoughts with thousands of others, it all became memory. But the memory remained crystal clear. She remembered thinking with 8,000 minds, moving with perfect coordination, fighting as part of something greater than any individual could achieve. "Captain," Lieutenant Nam approached carefully. How do you feel? Yoon considered the question. Different. Like I've seen what humanity could become. The same conversation was happening on ships throughout the fleet. Crews compared experiences, trying to understand what they had become during those 17 minutes of perfect unity. They had been individuals who became part of a collective while still remaining themselves. On Earth, President Park Ji-woo prepared to address both humanity and the galaxy. The communication would be broadcast to every civilized world, carried by quantum transmitters to species who had never heard of humans before today. She stood in the Blue House, looking out at Seoul's skyline. The city lights stretched to the horizon, representing 8 billion people who had just discovered they were part of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Citizens of Earth, colonies of humanity and peoples of all worlds, she began. Today we faced extinction. An armada of 50,000 ships demanded our surrender. They gave us 6 hours to submit or die. The broadcast reached alien worlds where entire populations watched in shocked silence. The humans had done the impossible. They had defeated the Galactic Defense Council in minutes. We chose a third option, President Park continued. We chose to show the galaxy who humans really are when we have nothing left to lose. On distant worlds, alien leaders gathered in emergency councils. The humans had just rewritten every military manual in the galaxy. Perfect coordination between ships across impossible distances, tactical awareness that exceeded their best computers. How was any of this possible? The answer came from an unexpected source. On the planet Kepler 442b, the elderly philosopher Zentari had studied human culture for decades. While other aliens saw humans as primitive warriors, he had recognized something deeper. The humans did not become a hive mind, he explained to a gathering of alien scholars. They became something new, a collective that preserved individuality while achieving perfect cooperation. They are still themselves, but they can choose to be more when necessary. The Galactic Defense Council's remaining members convened an emergency session on the neutral station orbiting Kepler 442b. The agenda had one item: how to formally apologize to humanity and request admission to their alliance. We underestimated them completely, admitted General Kriksta, one of the few alien commanders to survive the battle. They don't fight like any species we've encountered before. The truth was becoming clear to alien military analysts. Humans didn't just fight with superior tactics or better weapons. They fought with something no other species possessed: the ability to maintain individual identity while achieving perfect collective action. Every other species in the galaxy was either purely individual or completely collective. Humans had found a third path. President Park's broadcast continued. Humanity seeks peace with all species. We want to explore the stars together, share knowledge, and build a better galaxy for everyone. Any species that wishes to coexist with us is welcome. She paused, and her voice became harder. But any species that sees us as prey will discover they have made a fatal mistake. Today you learned that humans don't collapse under pressure. We become pressure. The message was clear to every alien listener. Humanity was offering friendship or demonstrating why they should be feared. The choice was theirs to make. Admiral Kang returned to visit Vexathari's cell one final time. The alien leader sat in silence, his 4 eyes staring at the floor in defeat. What will you do with us? Vexathari asked. That depends on you, Kang replied. Your crews will be treated well and returned to their home worlds. Your ships will be repaired and given back to you. But the Galactic Defense Council as a military force is finished. Vexathari looked up in surprise. You're letting us go? Humans prefer friends to enemies, Kang explained. We're offering you a choice. Join us as equals in exploring the galaxy, or return to your worlds and leave us alone. Both options are acceptable. And if we choose to fight again someday, Admiral Kang's expression grew cold. Then you'll discover that what you experienced today was us being gentle. Across human space, the quantum network equipment was carefully secured for future use. Dr. Kim's team had proven that perfect coordination was possible without losing individual humanity. The technology would be studied, improved, and prepared for any future threats. But more importantly, 8,000 human crews carried the memory of what they could become. They had been part of something greater than the sum of their parts. They had tasted unity without sacrificing identity. Captain Yoon stood on her bridge looking out at the stars. The Busan runner was heading home to Earth, carrying news of humanity's victory to the outer colonies. But she wasn't thinking about victory. She was thinking about the moment when 8,000 minds had worked as one, when perfect cooperation had made the impossible routine. Humanity had discovered something that would change everything. They had learned that individuals could become collective without losing themselves. They had found the path to something new. The galaxy would never be the same. Far across space, on worlds that had never heard of humans before today, alien children would grow up in a universe where Earth's species was known as the one that had redefined what was possible. The humans who had been expected to collapse in hours had instead ended a war in minutes, and they had done it not by becoming less human, but by becoming more human than they had ever been before.